Fremont Pike store in Perrysburg.
Correct.
Same with Gary. Gary, you've been with us for how many years now?
Over 11 and a half. It'll be 12 years in July of 2026.
Good God, it feels like 20.
Really? We got to edit that.
Did that really come jumping out of there?
Yep. That's funny.
Was that hot?
No. He smacked my hand and well, it's a good thing she has the ability to edit, right?
Well, maybe we'll leave that in. All right, so it's been 11. It does feel longer than that. It feels like you've been around forever. I think that's a good thing, right? You feel like a really experienced.
In 2013,
veteran.
a year earlier, I went to the first Discovery Day, and after that, it was maybe October, November of 2013, and it took me. I had to do some convincing. I'll never forget. Going to the Discovery Day, and it was just a great trip. I loved to roll the red carpet out. But in the end, we had a Q&A session, and I remember some potential franchise owners stood up and said, "Hey, I'm just curious, can you make any money at this?" And we were all like, finally, somebody asked the question that we want to know. And you said, "I'm not going to tell you. It's because I can't tell you, because it's all up to you. How motivated are you? How well do you know our community? How involved are you going to be?" and all that. So you got to figure this out for yourself. And I was disappointed, but I appreciated the hard advice, because I was hoping to get some specifics. And so what I did was I actually went out and I interviewed 6 different franchise owners. Peggy Rector.
Did you really?
The girls that own the Big Rapids, Michigan store.
Yeah.
Adam Rector, of course. The Briggs down in Findlay, where I trained. And I'm trying to think of the other ones.
You interviewed some all-stars.
I did, and they all said the same thing. They basically said that it's not a money printing operation by any standard, but it's a lot of fun. And I said, well, ultimately, do you regret your decision? Because some of them came from some corporate backgrounds, like I was leaving a corporate background. Right. Do I really want to do this? And they're like, they had no regrets whatsoever. So I jumped in with both feet. And my wife kind of pushed me that, make sure you do your research. If you're going to do a career change, you got to know what you're doing. And so I really appreciate all the advice I got. I know at one point in time, Adam had asked me, he was just point blank, he said, well, how much do you make in the corporate world? And I told him, and he kind of like, whoa. He said, well, he goes, I'm just going to tell you right now, he goes, you're not going to make that with 1 store. You're not going to make that with 2. And he goes, you might make it with 3. He goes, but it depends on, again, your involvement and where these stores are located. So the final decision to me was, okay, for me to live the lifestyle that I had come from, I got to have 3 stores. So my goal was to have 3 stores in 10 years. And I was proud to say that prior to year 7, or the end of year 7, I had 3 stores. And since then, I've got a 4th store. So it's I've kind of exceeded that expectation. Yeah. And I'm honest as I can be to say I do not regret this one bit. This has changed me not only professionally but personally, because I was a major introvert before I got into the BIGGBY world. No. You would have. You wouldn't even recognize me. Yep. And my wife, if she was here, she'd say the same thing. She goes, "Oh my gosh, she."
That's I would never ever think of you as an introvert.
I came from, my parents never went anywhere. Friends came over, but we never went to their house. We just lived quiet lives out in the country. And I met my wife, and she came from a massive family. And I was always uncomfortable. We go to these Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter get-togethers, and there were 80 people. And I was just so out of my realm. Like, I'd sit over in a corner, and at one point, Amy would say, my wife Amy, she would say, like, "What? Do you have something against my family?" I'm like, "No, I just don't know what to say. I don't know how to act." So that's the life that I lived, and I knew, 6 months into owning a BIGGBY, I remember you and Bob came into my store, and I was bothered by something because you saw it on my face.
You gotta remember,
And you basically said, like, "Gary, you need to get over it. You need to. I could see it on your face, and your customers could see it on your face. You need to change your attitude." And it was a smack in the face, and I'm thinking, "Whoa, it's what I needed at that moment." And I kind of like, you know what? Full steam ahead. And then it's really changed me. And now I'm not kidding. If whatever president's in office, they say, "Hey, Gary, if you want to give the State of Union address, or you want to talk about small businesses in the country, would you do it and speak to the hundreds of millions of people?" I would do it, absolutely.
You would.
But I wouldn't even think about talking to my next door neighbor 12 years ago. I just was very quiet, and so I love what it did to me personally.
Yeah. Well, I want to rewind and just that question of how much money am I going to make, or can I make any money in the business? And just to clarify my answer, it's like, 80% of whether this business makes money or not falls on the shoulders of the local owner, the franchise owner. Just on the stuff you were talking about, how aggressively are you going to engage the system? How involved in your community are you going to be? How well are you going to take care of your people? And, so 80% of the success of the store falls on the shoulders of the franchisee. Hopefully, we'll do our 20% on the other side of the equation, and that's a kind of a cold dose of ice water over a prospective franchise, because it's like they want security that if they invest and it's like, well, making the investment and building the store just gets you started. Then,
well, I would disagree with your 80-20 on my personal opinion. I think it's more of 50-50, and here's why. Because I remember, I got to go back to.
Well, that's a compliment, I think, to us.
Well, okay. Because,
I like that.
Because you guys told me from the beginning, even back to the Sandy Green days, they said, if you stick with the plan, you won't fail. Yeah. And it was tough because, a lot of, I never owned another business, so I didn't know any different, but a lot of people come into this maybe owning other franchises or other stores or other businesses, and they think they can do it their way. And you can't. You gotta, so, I've said after about 2 or 3 years, I remember I started speaking to BGSU classes on campus. Yeah. And they would say, so what's one of the biggest surprises? I'm like, well, honestly, if corporate called me and said, hey, listen, at noon today, get everybody out of the store because lightning's going to strike the building, I would get everybody out of the store. Because it seemed like whatever you guys said happened. Yes, absolutely. Do you remember, Mike, when you told me, you remember 6 months into it when you guys walked in and said, what's the matter? I could tell it's on your face. One of the things was I was seeing no results to my efforts on BGSU campus. And you proverbially smacked me in the face by saying, Gary, stop spending your time, energy, money on campus. You need to focus on the community, because the community are the ones that are going to be here 12 months out of the year. And I'm thinking, how can I ignore the 10,000 plus students? But I'd listen to you. And although we are now the official coffee of BGSU Athletics, which is great because that entails not only students when they go to the games, but also the community when they go to the games to participate. But prior to that, I stopped, and you said it was icing on the cake. If I get students, it was icing on the cake, and it's been advice that I took to heart, and it's paid off tremendously. Just focus on the community.
The other way to phrase that is that the university is just a big employer. Undergrad students don't have any money necessarily, but it's a huge employer. And so engaging them in terms of like the same you would a community, like a huge business park or something like that, is how I always think we should be.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that they have coffee options on campus. Right. So what's going to get them to leave their confines to come down to my store?
But the community those are the people that are going to be in your store consistently every week, over and over. Yeah, and the students are fickle. The undergrad students are typically pretty fickle with how they spend. Graduate students are better. We did some research at one point, and I look at a graduate student almost as like a professional, where an undergrad is they're more interested in partying and having a good time.
Right. They're really not sure what they want to do. Grad students know what they want to do. They know what
they're there for a purpose and so on. Anyway, we digress. Okay, so that is an amazing thing that you just disclosed to me, which I had no idea. I would never have thought of you as an introvert ever. And today, you're one of the most outgoing people I know. Like, you're just so easy. And
I owe it to. Absolutely.
That's cool. Okay, so. If you had to go back today and give yourself a piece of advice before you started, what would that be?
A couple pieces of advice. One is, don't wait the 6 months or a year before you really start learning or start listening to BIGGBY. Because I didn't know, I got pleaded ignorance because I had never owned another business, but I also thought that I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't. You know, I was referring earlier to when I talked to you this morning about this bet with Sandy Green. You know, yeah. You know, he told me, I actually told him, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be a 400 cup store after the first year, because our grand opening we did 700 cups that first day. I'm like, this is great. Well, you know, the grand openings always go well because you highly market it, you have the tremendous deals, and he said just be prepared for that free fall. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to see that. Well, I did see that, and here I am 11 and a half years, and I'm not a 400 cup store yet there. Getting closer, but the bet was, you know, a steak dinner anywhere in the country if we are a 400 cup store over the course of the year. So if Sandy Green sees this,
I'll call him.
it's still an open bet, and hopefully someday he takes me to a famous steakhouse.
Oh,
it's only one-sided too. It's not like if I don't achieve this, I got to take him to a steakhouse. He said he would take me to a steakhouse anywhere in the country.
Vegas,
if we average 400 cups for a year. So
good.
So that's another just unrealistic expectations, not knowing that there is that, you know, initial, wow, this is awesome, I'm going to do so well, and then you gotta hang on, because you're, you know, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but most often you're going to go into that revenue free fall, and you think you hit rock bottom, and the next day it's a little bit lower, and you know, boy, there were nights when I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this right? So that's one thing, and then of course, knowing how important it is to be a community leader, to be involved, not only listen to other BIGGBY owners and follow their lead, but follow the leads of other businesses in town that are successful. I mean, there are a few people in town and where I live in Bowling Green that I've had the utmost respect for, because I would show up to a 5K run and there they are serving spaghetti. Like, wow, you know, there's the owner of this spaghetti place and he's serving spaghetti. They're everywhere. And anytime you see them, and I want to be that person. And I have to say that, I shouldn't say we, my Bowling Green store, but I think we've got that reputation in Bowling Green where if there's ever an event, a fundraiser, BIGGBY Coffee's there. So that's something else I was unaware of.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like a double positive, double whammy. You know, like the kind of people that do that want to do it because they want to be good to the community. They want to take care of people. They want to support events and so on. And oh, by the way, it's good for business too.
Correct.
You know, and that mentality of wanting to support the community, wanting to do good by your fellow business owners, wanting to support your fellow business owners, that is something that I find it's a hard thing to learn. You kind of either have that or you don't. Would you agree with that?
I would, and one other factor of that is typically you're donating.
Right.
So there's no revenue coming in. So
money.
you have to have the faith that if you give, they will give back, and that's tough, especially for starting business. You're starting out, and you see your numbers aren't what they were that first grand opening week, and you're like, boy, can I afford that? But another advice that you gave me, I want to do BOGO Wednesday on Monday because Monday is typically the slowest day of the week, which I was thinking it would be the busiest day because people coming off the weekend, they need their coffee to start their week. No, they're usually running late. This is exactly what you said. They're usually running late, and they'll
This
skip
is a Bob
that.
Fish thing. This is not you heard this from Bob, I guarantee it. This was
Really?
his. Yeah, keep going. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah,
with
so
this.
he just said no. He goes, you do not want to do it. Maybe it was Bob.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So he said, no, you want to do it closer to you. He said, do it on a Friday. And I really, really had a tough time I'm doing pretty good on Fridays. I hate to give half that away in discount. So I decided I settled on a Wednesday. And I think kind of system-wide, a lot of people have BOGO Wednesday. It's kind of a system-wide thing for most stores. So I've kind of felt, and I was amazed at how it brought up the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. And
Go after and support your busy times, and it'll lift the whole thing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah. That's something that is counterintuitive.
Once again, follow the plan. You can't fail.
Follow
And
the plan.
I love that. And I've had over the years, I've had Crystal Thompson. She owns 2 stores now, and before she even got into this, she contacted me and said, I need just full disclosure. And I was like, Crystal, why don't you come in? I'll show you my books.
Yeah.
I don't care. I have nothing to hide. I mean, we're in this together. You can see, and I gave her good advice. I hope I haven't given her bad advice, but I guess I've given her advice that she probably didn't want to hear. But that's only because I've been through it. So
I think I basically say there's 2 factors that make a successful franchise owner. One is commit yourself to learning the system and executing the system and just do it. The other is your willingness to engage and support the other owners, the community of BIGGBY Nation.
right.
You were part of a forum. Can you explain what that was, what it meant to you, why you did it, what you got from it?
That would have been the Illich Forum, which
Yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure if that's still going
No,
on.
COVID just
Yeah,
gutted all of those.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But you were
But
part
I-
of it
first
for
of all, I was-
years, right? It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. First of all, I was honored
Was it
to
number
be
two?
asked.
Was that the number? It was the Duke and then the Illich. Is that what it was? I think so, right?
Correct.
Number two. So you were in that for a long time.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, well, explain what it was, and then because to me, that mentality of supporting your fellow owners is a critical component to succeeding in the business, right? Supporting each other.
Yeah, correct. And most of the people in the Illich group, if not all of them, had many more years of doing this than me. So
That's
it was
right.
great for me to, first of all, I was honored to be even invited to it and be a part of it. But it's one thing, the surrounding Northwest Ohio, some of the stores are newer than me, and they try to lean on me. But hey, I've seen some stores that are early in the stages, and I'm thinking, man, what are they doing? And I want to reach out to them, like, okay, explain how you're ranked in the top 5 every week or every day or every month. But the history is there for the taking with that Illich group, and those owners had some tremendous insight to things that I was doing wrong, things that I could do differently, or things that I could do that I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
So it was great in that regard.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Right?
Plus as a team, we can all get together and just like the Franchise Advisor Council, we come with these ideas, and that's something we can share system-wide, not just amongst our group, like our forum group, or locally. If it can be system-wide, then it helps everybody.
Yeah.
I've said early on, I've never asked Bob for anything for me personally. If I have a complaint about something or I have a suggestion about something, it's for what's best for BIGGBY Nation, what's for all Biggies, not just not my store.
For sure.
And I think everybody has to have that attitude.
Yeah. Well, and thanks for your leadership too, by the way. Being involved in FAC, that is so important. That experienced owners are willing to commit their time to make us all better, right? Like that's how people wonder why the franchise business model is so successful. It's like, well, we've got 300 really smart people out running these businesses every single day, learning, and then bringing that back to all of us and helping us get better and better and better. And like, I sit in the FAC meetings with you and Scott, and it's like, man, this is there's real stuff, right? There's real things that are being brought in a healthy way, right?
Right. Yep.
So I just wanted to take the time to thank you for doing that. It's a big ask.
It's my pleasure. I would have to say too that it goes back to just follow the plan, but our product, I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for me becoming a BIGGBY fanatic. I mean, I didn't like coffee 20 years ago. Couldn't stand it. Maybe I could say, yeah, I like the smell of it, but I hated it. And then one day it was a local BIGGBY here in Northwest Ohio, or Toledo area. My wife said, let's try it, back when it was Beaners. And I got, what's a butter bear? And I tell you what, from then on, something grew inside of me. And to this day, I'll never forget, I get 2 comments about, customer interaction. But I was playing cashier probably 8-9 years ago, and somebody came up and he had said, hey, I want a turkey Vardy. I'm like, how about double meat? Or I said, you want to try it with something else? It was an upsell. And the guy called me out on it. He goes, nice upsell, because no thanks. I'm like, oh, whoa. Or maybe I know what it was. He got a drink and I offered a turkey Vardy sandwich.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, nice upsell. He goes, but no thanks. I'm like, hey, no. I'm not trying to upsell you. This is a testimonial. These sandwiches are awesome. And he goes, all right, fine. So I was successful. He bought it and he ate it down there. When he's done, he's like, man, where's this been all my life? So it was just awesome. The whole point is, like, you got to love the product. You got to love what you're doing. I mean, I don't know if I could sell nuts and bolts. I don't know if I could be passionate. No disrespect for people that sell nuts and bolts, but to sell this product, not to mention what goes along with it. Our biggest competitor, we all know who it is. I have to say that I don't think I've ever had an experience I've gone in and somebody's actually engaged me in conversation. What happens is they'll say, Gary, because my drink is ready. That's the only engagement there is. That's not our model, and I think that's another thing that just, I don't want to say sells itself, but it makes our job as owner-operators much easier knowing that what we're selling and what we offer is so much better than anybody else. And I believe that, and I'll, nothing else to compare.
Maybe the greatest upseller of all time is Tony DiPietro.
Oh,
did you ever work with him in a store?
Nope, I have not heard this.
I mean, truly. And what he used to do is he used to upsell, and if somebody said no, he would say, okay, well, how about this? How about I make it for you, and you don't pay for it? And if you enjoy it, you'll come back and buy it tomorrow. If you don't, you don't have to, no risk. And he did that a ton, right? And so with that, it's a no risk guarantee, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
But 9 out of 10 times they'd stop back in. Well, they'd be very thankful,
sure,
right? They're
correct.
appreciative of the fact that he did that. But how many times did he sell 25 sandwiches, to that same person over the next 3 months?
Yeah,
right?
sure,
And
correct.
it cost you one sandwich.
Yep.
You know?
Now I do that with non-coffee drinkers. Somebody come in, there's two of them, like, are you guys together? Oh no, they're just getting something. I'm like, you know anything? And they'll say, no, I don't drink coffee.
I'm not a coffee drinker.
And I was like, well, we have non-coffee drinks, hot chocolate and stuff. I said, however, do you have anything against caffeine or anything like that, any tolerance? Or like, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have you try a single short butter bear. And they're like, whoa, what is that?
Was that your first drink?
That's my favorite. Butter bear is my favorite, hands down. And a single short, and they'll sip it and they're like, okay, I can get used to this, because that's what got me going. I wasn't a coffee drink until I got that butter bear. Yeah.
You remember Barry Greenblatt? Berry Bagels, founder of Berry Bagels.
I don't, but I know of him.
He was around. He was a big part of our history.
Correct.
We partnered with him in the Toledo stores and so on. And he always used to say, we had some bets, sort of like you and Sandy do, and it was like, when we crossed this certain threshold or when we accomplished something, he would actually have his first coffee, and I would make it for him, whatever I wanted. And so we ended up winning the bet. And I remember going to the store and I made him a caramel marble. I said, it's the #1 selling drink of all time, and I made him a tall caramel marble.
And he was not a coffee drinker.
Not a coffee drinker. And he took a sip of that, and he was immediately just in love,
hooked.
Right? And it just, you could see it on his face. He's like, oh, this is what coffee tastes like?
Yeah.
This is why we've got 400 people a day walking into our stores?
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's pretty good stuff,
It
man.
is. Yep. Again, it's half the work is that, because if we had a product that we weren't sold on, it would be tougher. Our job would be a lot tougher.
Yeah. I mean, think of like if your experience was drinking Maxwell House percolated coffee with your grandma when you were 8 years old. Yeah. Like if you thought that's what coffee tastes like, you'd be,
Oh, speaking of the second interaction with a customer.
Oh, yeah.
So, early on, I kept track of all of our cup counts, and I know it's accessed on the FRC, but I was, after the first year, hey, we sold, 550,000, whatever it is, and we got to 1 million, and we were probably, 5 years into it, and a guy waiting down at the end, he goes, I like our biggest competitor better, just so you know. And I'm like, really? Wow. Okay.
Well, that's rude.
But listen, I said, listen, I'm a big boy. I can take it.
Yeah.
Can I ask why? He goes, yeah. He goes, I want my coffee so strong I can eat it with a fork. And I was like, okay, you know what? We do our best, but that is not us. But I just thought it was very interesting that there are some people, and I feel like, and I tout this too, that our biggest competitor started 1971. Okay. If BIGGBY would have been in 71 and our biggest competitor would have been in 1995, we would be that global leader. This is my opinion. We would be that global leader. They wouldn't be a shell of what BIGGBY Coffee is today because of the difference in quality and customer service.
Yeah. They got a little bit of a head start on us.
Yep. We're gaining ground.
I hold them in very high regard though too. I mean, that is one of the greatest retail rollouts in history, and I'm partial to our product for sure.
Correct.
But at the same time, I mean, what they've been able to do is it's incredible.
It is, absolutely. And I don't trash them, just like I don't trash them. We have local. I don't know what the stats are, but I always say Bowling Green, Ohio is like the coffee capita of the state. There's so many coffee shops, so many coffee options. So and we all work together. I would say work together, but I have the utmost respect. My biggest competitor in town is a 35, got to be close to 35-year-old hometown, just a
35
walk-in,
years, eh?
35 years, and
Wow.
I admire them. Kind of like what you're referring to as far as our biggest competitor, Bigby's biggest competitor. It's something to marvel, and I'm not too proud to say I like the way they're doing it. And maybe, what is that? The imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
So, but it works. You know, there's 8, 9 coffee shops in little old Bowling Green, Ohio,
amazing,
and we
isn't
all
it?
survive. So,
Well, you know, I did a social media post wearing a hat with it's called Lobster Butter. There's a company called Rue's Roast in Ann Arbor, and they've got a blend that they do called Lobster Butter. And so I was wearing a lobster butter hat on. I did a social media post, and like it was I got a bunch of feedback. Like, how could you possibly wear like a competitor's brand on social media? We're like, these guys are great. Like, what do you mean?
Okay,
And it
I
never
get it.
even dawned on me like that people would see that as it would be a negative. It's like, no, like I love these. They're great. I love going to their stores. They do a great job. Why can't we all do a great job?
Yeah.
And sure, we're competing, but you go into athletics, it's like you're gonna try really hard to beat the other player, but it doesn't mean
Then
you
they
don't
shake
like
hands with them.
Yeah,
Correct.
tell them they did a great job. You win some, you lose some. All right. So if you had I guess we already sort of asked the question, which is what you would say to yourself before you started is what you would say to a prospective franchise.
and the last thing with that is I would, you have to, it's so hard, but you have to rest. You have to rest. When you open up a store, it's before open to after close, 7 days a week, nonstop. And if you don't properly get the rest, the sleep, the food, I passed out. I was probably maybe 2 months into it.
Did you really?
Yeah, passed out. Like I literally
In the store?
In the store, yeah. Yep.
Did you?
Nobody knows that.
Were you standing up?
I was standing up, and fortunately, I grabbed one of the inventory racks that stopped my fall, but the whole point was, and then somebody saw me, they're like, Gary, you need to go home, you need to sleep. And so I got in my car, and I drove across the street to a CVS parking lot, and I fell asleep for like 45 minutes. I came back, and I was rejuvenated, and that's another thing too, is you have to, and I regret that, because I wonder if maybe some of the decisions I made, or like you said, after 6 months, you're like, Gary, I can see something's wearing on your face, probably because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So that's, take care of your stores.
Deb Kirchen talks about going out and taking naps in her store in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, going out for half hour, 45 minutes, getting a nap in. All right, so what is, we'll take the negative spin first. What is your least favorite part of the business today? 11 years in, 4 stores, you've been doing it for a long time. What's the part of the business that you don't like?
Boy. I gotta think about that, only because I'm not on the ground level now. Like, I've got managers in all the stores. I didn't have that before, especially with 1 store, then 2. I was the manager 2, and then
Life's
3.
a lot
and
easier, isn't it?
Life's a lot easier. Right. That's right. So
It takes a while to get there, though.
To hiring, we've had. Okay, so one thing that still surprises me to this day is, and I don't know if this ever needs to be edited, but before I decided to change careers, my wife, I said I'm not putting us on a pedestal, but a lot of people knew my wife. She had taught for many years. A lot of kids, parents. I coached youth sports up until 7th grade, so a lot of people knew us, and we'd be sitting in the stands watching our kids. And I started making the announcement, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be transfer. I'm going to open up a BIGGBY." And there were a lot of people that would say, like, first of all, you're nuts, because I could never do that, so I give you credit. But second of all, like, I can't wait. One guy even got out his wallet and he goes, "Look," he goes, "I'm a member." He had a BIGGBY card. I'm thinking, this is so cool. I felt so energized, like, wow, this is going to be a great thing. It's been 11 and a half years, and many of those same people have never stepped foot in my store. Not one time. And that's probably been the biggest surprise
Really?
for me personally, is I see him around town, and I had one guy in particular. I appreciate the honesty, kind of like the guy saying, "I want my coffee so strong you need a fork." He goes, "Gary, you got to stop in." He goes, "But I'm not getting out of my truck." He just goes through the drive-thru.
Yeah.
He won't get out of his truck. That's okay. I appreciate the honesty. But there are some. But so now you had said we're negative first.
Least favorite part of the business.
Least, yeah, that one was just the biggest surprise. But as far as the least favorite, I can't pinpoint something because you never know when the equipment breaks down. I don't want to say it too loud, but but fortunately, growing up, my dad was very, very handy, and he would wake me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Hey, get your butt out of bed. You're gonna help me with this or that, and I would be. Maybe even out of high school, I'd be hungover and I would have to go out and lay on a creeper and hold a flashlight while he changed brakes or something in the car. And it just, I dreaded those days. But I look back now, he passed 31 years ago, but there's not a moment goes by that I don't think, like yesterday I fixed something on one of our pieces of equipment and I think to myself like, thank you. He taught me to be hands-on and problem solve. Now, some things I can't do. I can't replace a boiler unit in an espresso machine without burning myself. But
you can.
so that's, I don't like that. I get with 4 stores, or if somebody has 12 stores, you never know when you get a phone call. Hey, Gary, our espresso machine's down, or the POS isn't working, or yesterday here at this store, the Wi-Fi. Like it was system-wide, there was an outage, and so we had to take cash only. That's crippling when it's cash only because a lot of people don't carry cash. So I don't like that. But I mean those.
So the surprises, would that be a way to summarize the part that you don't like? Like you're cruising along in your day and then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, you gotta go deal with something.
And maybe to some people the worst part is hiring or the turnover. And I'm telling you what, we have staying power here. We have a lot of veterans. You're going to meet Anna in a little bit. She's been with me for over 3 years, and we've got a lot of people that have got 2 or 3 years. And I know I'd love to keep everybody for life. I wish they could teach. You get a degree in barista, being a barista, but obviously it's not possible. Most of these are stepping stones, college students, high school students. So that's tough. Okay, so I guess now that I've thought about the least favorite part of my job, saying goodbye. Hands down. There's some baristas that I just absolutely love, and when they graduate and move back to Youngstown, oh my gosh, it's heart wrenching. And I'm a hugger and I'm a crier and I hate saying goodbye, but I know that somebody's going to replace them. That I'm going to be able to, which kind of now transitions to the best part of this job. Is something I had no idea was even part of it. But hands down, my favorite part of this job is having the influence that I can have and the impact I can have on this younger generation, to teach them life skills. I've got so many stories.
Right?
So many stories.
We're 100% on that.
Yeah.
Do you know I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, that's okay.
I want you to go off on this because it's so important. But we've now done, I think 12 or 13 interviews. And when we ask what the most favorite part of the business is, every single time, it's the people, it's investing in people,
Correct.
It's the relationships. Do you know if you go out in the world and you ask business owners what the hardest part of business is? 9 out of 10 are going to tell you the people. In BIGGBY, 100% of why we love the business is the people.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And I didn't know that was part of it.
I knew you were going to say that because I know you, but it's just incredible to me. So investing in the people, the relationships. Tell me some stories.
And teach them life skills. I some stories. One of them, one of my very first, I interviewed 72 people to hire 24 before I opened up. And I felt like I got the 24 best employees. One of them happened to be from Sue Strasbaugh's store, and she was high school and she became a BGSU student, so I got her a freshman year. If she sees this, she knows I'm talking about her, but she was an absolute slob. Behind the counter, she was a slob. Wherever I could walk in, I'm like, oh.
Working for Sue, she was a slob.
I could say, oh, Michaela was here. And it just so happens that during that 6 months where I wasn't at my best, I got annoyed and I was like, stop. Everywhere you go, you leave a mess. Look at this. She took an air pot apart, and there was the lid, there was the stem, there was the air pot. It was like, why? Clean this up. And I worked on her. And she would she'd be frustrated with me. And I just did it for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Michaela, nope, you can do better. So then fast forward maybe 3 months, and I'm in the back, I'm doing some paperwork, and I hear her talking to her 2 coworkers, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated with her roommate. She goes, she's such a slob. And my heart just warmed. Like, listen, I taught her, and from then on, another kid. I got him in high school, and then he went to BGSU for 4 years. So I had him for 5 years. Great kid, but he was so shy. And I would be in the back, and he would be milk steamer, and we're supposed to engage customers in conversation. And he just wasn't comfortable, even after year 2 and after year 3. So I would be back there, I'd be, and he'd look back there, and I'd be doing this. Like, you gotta talk. Right. And then he'd say, how are you doing? And he started slowly come out of his shell. By his senior year, he was masterful. He was great. Yeah. And then he graduated, got an interview, got the job, came back to me and said, Mr. Dible, always call me Mr. Dible. He said, Mr. Dible, goes, I got to thank you for what you did and worked on me for all these years. He goes, I never would have gotten that job if I didn't nail that interview, and I felt so confident because of what you taught me. I'm like, wow, that was just so awesome.
Change forever.
Yep, absolutely. So just those, like, and I have this saying too, and I know this is probably something that's going to get edited.
Nothing's going to get edited. I mean, we're going to edit me spilling coffee all over.
Okay.
We'll edit that part, but what you say, none of that's getting edited.
So,
unless you want it edited.
My son, when he was going to college, during the summers he worked for me. Like, he was one of my very first 24 hires, of course. And then I hired another girl that.
That's annoying. Sorry.
Oh.
Probably should, as a veteran interviewer, I should probably silence my phone.
So I had my son, and I hired, out of those 24, there was a girl that worked there. Her name was Jessie, and she's very strong-willed, very good, just an excellent worker. Of course, my son was too, but they didn't really see eye to eye all the time. Sometimes they butted heads. Well, they are now married.
What?
They're like, if we can call BIGGBY
They
Flames.
met at BIGGBY?
They met at BIGGBY. They're like BIGGBY Flames now, and they've got one child, got a 3-year-old granddaughter, and then they're expecting one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome, but
but they didn't get along at first.
They didn't get along at first.
I love that.
Shoot, I'm just drawing a blank on what I said. This probably will get edited. I got to. Oh, okay. So the point being is, like, sometimes people, while they're working for me, they get engaged.
Yeah.
Guy or girl, doesn't matter, and I'll literally say, hey, listen, I got some advice for you. It's okay to sleep on the couch. And they're kind of like, what? I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, but my belief is that sometimes, especially with two people that are kind of strong-willed, is you can't really, like the people that say, oh, we never go to bed angry. I don't know if that's
You feel like that's
good.
a fantasy?
And maybe that's what they say, but I don't think it's a good thing, because sometimes things can't be resolved by the end of the day. Sometimes if you're dug in or they're dug in, you have to, maybe the 24-hour rule kicks in. The next day you see things different, like, honey, I'm sorry. So it's okay to sleep on the couch. Don't think that you have to give in, because I think that just builds that frustration. So I give marital advice, I guess.
Yeah, love advice from Gary Dible.
Yeah, right. So it's just the things like that, all part of the whole scheme of, like, I didn't know this was part of owning a BIGGBY franchise, is like the influence I can have, whether it's financial, like, people don't graduate college and then jump into that $500,000 house and please watch your credit card debt. I mean, they don't understand that they make minimum payments every month. Their interest is higher than minimum payments, so they're never going to pay down the debt. So things like that, they'll come to me and ask me, and I'm not perfect, but I feel like I have something to offer, and I'm willing to offer, and that sends these kids out into a little bit stronger, a little wiser, a little more ready for the real world.
Well, in so many ways, I think what the culture that we've created over 30 years, and when I say we, I'm talking everybody, as a young person in a job, I think in so many ways it's just nice to know that, like, your boss cares about you. It's that simple.
Right.
And, like, you care about your people. I know that through and through. And, like, just to know that, like, that the boss doesn't have to be a negative experience. The boss can actually be somebody that cares about me and is excited about my future and wants to support me, and like, that's just a different dynamic, I think, than what most young people expect going into a job. And that's what makes this environment so special, and so, and it's everybody does it differently. You don't do it the same as Paula or Peggy, or everybody does it a little bit differently. But I would say the root is, generally speaking, we care about our people.
Correct.
And we want the best for them. And that's amazing.
And I'm never unwilling to do anything that I wouldn't ask them to do. So I'm kind of known as the trash man. Like I'm always taking trash out. I come into a store and there's a bag by the door, and they're like, "Gary, I got that." I'm like, "Nope, hey, I'm the trash man."
That's nice.
If you know, I've
No
had
one likes taking the trash out.
and you know, I got a call a few years ago saying, "Gary, had a really bad disaster. Somebody did a number in one of our bathrooms and took it to the next level where it was all over the walls. It was bad. So I ended up saying, like, out of order, I'm gonna come up there and I'm gonna clean it. I didn't want them. I didn't think it was their jobs, their responsibility.
To do that,
So I did it, and you know, roll up my sleeves and
Yeah.
Tilex and a contact high with that Tilex fumes got the best of me, but it was clean. But they know that I'm not above anything. I'll do anything that I would ask them to do.
Let me ask you a question. So I know you're thinking about selling, retirement. That's on your mind. Why? Why sell? I mean, here's my thing. I mean, I hope you'll square me up on this, but like, you're very good at it. Think of 20 years from now, still being able to interact with the teams and the people and the community, and you can dial that down. It doesn't have to be like, you know, over the next 5 to 10 years, you can dial down your involvement and replace yourself with more people, right? Or different kinds of people. What's the motivation to sell?
Okay, you're right, and this is something that's out in the future. I mean, we're not talking about
I know.
soon,
Well, we just
but,
talked
you know,
about it the other day.
Okay.
You know, you're starting to think that way.
Yeah, I'm starting to think about
it. And so when I was coming
think
down
it's-
here, I wanted to ask you this question.
I think it's because, you know, if I'm not, I told you I went to Orlando for 4 days and golfed, but I couldn't wait to get back to the stores. And every single day, 7 days a week, I go to all my stores.
Do you really?
Every single day, and without question, I'm always there. For many reasons. First of all, you know, when I show up and I can hear like, oh, that grinder doesn't sound right, or maybe I'll say, hey, Kelsey, how you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm
You know
all right.
that's a little obsessive, right?
I have nothing else to do. That's the thing. So I love that part of it. So
I know.
and the pulse of the staff. You know, if somebody's not quite
That's
right,
what I'm talking
I
about,
pull them
yeah.
aside, and say, hey, listen, what's up? And you know, they'll cry on my shoulder and they'll say, like, did something happen? Like, listen, it's going to be okay. And I'm that person. I got to be involved. So my wife, with her pending retirement, we want to travel a lot.
She doesn't want you in the
wants travel.
store 7 days a week. Yeah.
No, it absolutely has nothing to do with her at all. It's me. So when I say she wants to travel, she says, listen, I want to be gone for a month. And I don't know, right now, as I sit here talking to you, I don't know if I can handle being gone for a month away from my stores. So that's kind of part of pulling. That's what's pulling me. But who knows what 6 years, you know, if it's 6 years, if it's 10 years, if it's 4 years. I mean, obviously somebody comes along, I mean, I'm sorry to say, maybe not, I'm just speaking for just out loud here, but if somebody says, hey, I'll give you $1 billion for the rights and Mike, you're out of here, you know, for $1 billion, you'd probably think about it, if not say, done.
I'd think about it, but I'd say no.
Right, and so my point to that is if somebody came and said, hey, I want to give you X amount, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how could I wouldn't, but I love what I do, so you're right, that's a big part of, last thing I want to do is make this decision and then regret it. I know other business owners that sold and they're like, oh, I missed that, or I regret that, so I don't want to be that person.
The thing there's two things. One, I just had this conversation with a friend of mine who owns a business, not BIGGBY, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but know what you're gonna do after you sell.
Correct.
Have that plan laid out,
right.
because you're gonna go crazy if you don't, right? The other piece for me is that, like, this is the topic of my third book. I'm gonna rewrite Grow into 2 different books. I won't bore you with that, but the third book is about how to go from where you were maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where you said you didn't have good managers in the stores and you were still really, but now you've evolved to where you have good managers in the stores, and so you're not as active at the minute. But then it's like the next stage of that progression is to become fully irrelevant. And once you're fully irrelevant, then you get to be involved if and when you want to be,
Well, so-
but you don't have to.
So that could change my decision of whether I
I
stay
got to write
in.
that damn book to keep you around.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
I don't want you going anywhere,
Yeah.
you know. But I mean,
Because that's the unknown to me. That's the unknown.
Yeah. No, it's and it's we're in the middle of it. We're 7 years into that, right? So we were 25, 24 years old. We hired John Gilkey. He came in. We hired him for certain reasons. He did those. He executed a ton of that stuff. We transitioned to Erin in February. She's going after a different set of goals for the next 3 to 5 years. But at the same time, Bob and I are becoming less and less and less relevant to BIGGBY. And at some point, we have to become completely irrelevant and keep our franchise owners healthy and safe, and their investments are safe, and so on. Without it, because we're gonna be gone someday, and this is still gonna be here, and we need this to be strong for you guys. But I love the concept, though, at 80 years old, for me personally anyway, to like be able to be involved in the stuff I want to be involved in,
Sure.
but not have to be involved in any of it, right? And that's my true quest. That's my because I don't know, like I feel like it's just, this is my life. This is, you know, this is everything, you know.
That's where I'm at
To
now
sell
too.
it like it's a used car and move on, like I
No.
just, anyway, used car is probably a tough rep. All right, well, I was wanting to ask, what do you have anything that you would like to close with, or you'd like to say? Or?
I would love to stick around and listen to your interview with Anna, because
Okay,
you know, I
cool.
want to say that Anna's just so deserving. As you talk to her, you're going to understand why. I mean, she's just.
I can't wait.
You know, one thing about her that, and I've known this, I just didn't really put it into words. I don't know if you happened to see the Toledo Blade article that went out last week.
I did not see it.
Front page had a picture of her, Barista of the Year. It was great for the Toledo Blade, the biggest paper in
Oh my
Northwest
gosh.
Ohio.
Can I see it? Do you have one?
I don't have one
It's
with me,
probably
but
online, right? Yeah.
yes, correct. But
There's circa
you know,
1976.
one of our operating philosophies, in Perk, every customer leaves the store in a better mood when the customer arrives. Every customer leaves the store in a better mood than when the customer arrives. Yeah, I got it word for word. I still know it after all these years. Her philosophy is every employee leaves their shift in a better mood than when they arrived.
That's great.
Yeah, and then that's she strives at it. Is it perfect? You know, just sometimes you got somebody that's dealing with some outside, and it's hard, but she just cares about our staff and makes it fun, and it shows in our turnover help. We just don't have a high turnover help, and that's just the inside that people don't see. She got this Barista of the Year based off of what the customers see on the outside, and she's just fantastic. She has that way of, you know, I early on, when you're divvying up responsibilities, who's going to be cashier, who's going to be shop puller, who's going to be milk steamer, and some people say, I don't want to be milk steamer because I don't want to talk. Like, okay, well then now you're milk steamer because you need to get good at that.
You need to, yeah.
But some people would say, some of the baristas would say, oh no, here comes so-and-so, I don't like this person. Whoa, why? I said, well, because they never say anything. They're always in a bad mood. I'm like, I tell you what, if you want to achieve E, those are the best ones, because all you got to do is say hi. They may say hi back and then leave, but they might think like, wow, that was awful nice of her to say hi, or him to say hi to me. Those are the ones that become those everyday, oh my gosh, this person's great, because they finally come out of the shell, and that's what she does. She just has a way of, somebody's in a bad mood, she can sense it, and somehow she pulls that out of them. Yeah, it is magic, and and people feed off of that. I feed off of that. She's just great. I love having a headset on. I'm not even involved. I have a headset on. I can hear her interaction with the customers at the drive-thru line, and she's just fantastic.
How does BIGGBY make your life better?
Well, I've already told you I became
Yeah,
an extrovert, and
So you learned that. That's so cool.
I learned that, absolutely. You know, it's
I've always said that's hard to learn, but this is our second interview in a row. That barista from last week was like, no. When I started, I was the most introverted. So you learned, you're learning that every
and I
day.
had no other choice. You know, prior to, we would go to, with my wife teaching, we'd go to ice cream socials and trivia nights, and I just felt so uncomfortable. And she was like, oh, get over it. Not in those words, but she's like, this is the life that I have. Well, fast forward now, and I'm the one, like, not too long ago, where, hey, let's go out to dinner. She's like, okay. She goes, but can you just, please don't stop and talk to somebody. You know, I just want to have dinner. And it's just funny. It's just funny to see that how our roles have reversed, where she wants to kind of live, you know, she's starting to phase herself out of her career. And yeah, it's just, and plus, I can't wait to wake up in the mornings. I mean, every day I shoot out of bed. That never happened. I shouldn't say it never happened. I like my professional, or my corporate world job that I had. I was a supply chain manager. I love that job too. And you know, really, if it wouldn't have been for a major buyout and change of owner or management from the very top all the way up at the top, who knows? I might still be there, and this whole change
Love and
of
life, sure, yeah.
But there's nothing like having the franchises and having this lifestyle. Like I said, I love to get up in the morning, and I'm serious. Every single day, I stop into the stores, and I love doing that. Yesterday, I walked into the downtown store, and there was a little bit of a fog with the Asiago bagel, kind of caught a little flame in the, and I smelled.
You're making it sound romantic.
But then you get the mix with the coffee, and I'm like, wow, that particular moment in time is what I remember the first time I walked into a BIGGBY. Not necessarily the burnt Asiago, but just like you get that smell. You ever, okay, you got to be the same way. You know, you said something about you and Bob are sort of like taking a back seat.
Yes.
To some extent,
Yeah,
not as involved as you used to be, but so that means you don't get into coffee shops as often as you used to. So when you walk into a coffee shop after a week or 2 weeks, you smell it. It has to give you that love for like, oh my God, this is what I started. This is how it all began, and it's nostalgic to me. I love it, and there's no other. I can walk into 100 different coffee shops, and I'm not going to get that scent that I get when I walk into a BIGGBY. So I love that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. My
do.
pleasure.
It's
My
amazing
pleasure.
stuff.
My pleasure. Every single day is my pleasure.
So you got to go work.
I gotta go work. Yep. Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks for doing this. This was great. I think there's a ton of value. And if I was, I try to think of like if I was a prospective franchisee of a system, thinking about franchising, like and there was a YouTube channel I could go to and listen to, hour-long interviews with experienced franchise owners, that would be gold to me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That
We didn't
would
have
be
that. I didn't have that 12 years ago.
So that's what I'm trying to create is a library of content. I feel like sometimes I should get a little more technical, maybe on some of the business aspects of it, but.
Well, in that Discovery Day, you had said you got to do your own homework. It's up to you.
Yeah.
I don't know you. I don't know your work ethic. I don't know blah 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 all that stuff. And I was like, whoa. And so I did. That got me to do the homework.
Did your wife come to Discovery Day with you?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I was unhappy. I didn't like the direction. My boss, he was the operations manager. He was retiring because he didn't like where the company was going. And like I became a multimillionaire on the buyout, so I don't need to work, and I'm not having any fun. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I had the utmost respect for him, second only to my father. I've learned so much from that man. He was leaving. I'm like, what do I want to do? So we started thinking of all these different ideas, the businesses, and we just happened to be on a BIGGBY on McCord, waiting. That's a funny story there too, real quick. I was standing there waiting for a drink, and I look over and it had Own Your Own Franchise little placard thing. I pulled it out. I'm like, Amy, what about this? And she goes, now you've got my attention. She said, do your homework. And then that led into the Discovery Day where you said, do your homework. And that happened to be one of those where, talk about a BIGGBY fanatic, going from I didn't drink coffee to that McCord trip. My son was a 6th, 7th, 8th man off the bench playing basketball for junior high. We were from Bowling Green. We were playing McCord junior high, and it was halftime. And we're close to a BIGGBY. We can actually smell it. So hey, let's run down to a BIGGBY. Let's grab it. We'll come back. He didn't play much, or if he did, he was the defensive specialist. So we go down there. It was busy. We waited a little bit too long. By the time we get back, we get up into the stands, and the surrounding parents are like, "Guys, you missed it. Brian hit a 3."
You missed
Our
it?
son hit a 3, and his very first, maybe his only one. It was only one at that time. Never hit a 3 before. We nailed a 3, and we missed it because we were getting BIGGBY coffee. Yep.
No way.
I know. I've had another experience. Wasn't BIGGBY related, but I was going back to my master's. Going at night, Mondays and Wednesday nights, 6 to 9 p.m. And it was on Wednesday night. Halfway through, 7:30, we took a break, and my son had his first baseball game of the season. And it ended like around 6:30, 6:45, and I told the guys like, hey, listen, my son is playing his first game out at Carter Park, local field. Can I leave? And he goes, you got somebody getting your notes? I'm like, yeah, Matt is getting my notes. He goes, good. He goes, I had kids once, get out of here. I'll see you next week. So I left, and I get out there at the field, and I'm walking up from the parking lot to the fence, and I'm saying, oh my God, Tony, he's come up the plate. And I look over, and it's like 6-6, bottom of the sixth, 2 outs, and he's up to the plate. So I'm like, I don't have time to walk in. So I stood there in the fence. He jacked his first ever home run over the fence, walk-off home run. And I was 15 seconds from missing it.
But you were there.
I was there to see that. But here's the point. I realized then that, you know what, that memory, if I had missed that, I would have cried for weeks.
Yeah.
For him telling me, Dad, you never believe this. And I'm like, what was I doing in class? Yeah. So I finished the semester and I never went back.
Never went back.
I thought, you know what, that'll be there. The education will be there.
It all worked out.
Now, I was in the corporate world then. Then BIGGBY happened, so I didn't really need an MBA. But yeah, I was just like so close to missing that memory that I can never get back. So anyway, I digress.
We could go all day.
I know, you know me, because I'm an extrovert now.